What's up, Degenerate Nation? Welcome to the Big Bets on Campus podcast. This is the Week 2 college football betting preview. I'm Stuckey, and joining me, as always, my fellow BBOC co-host, Collin Wilson. It's good to be back again after Week 1. Got a full Week 2 slate starting on Friday night with some Friday Night Lights, which we'll get to later. And then we'll go through Saturday's card hit, probably, around 15, 20 games in total, starting with the marquee games in just a moment. Quick little plug. If you use Twitter, be sure to use @Playbook, the new betting bot from Action. Turn your screenshot into a bet slip. Just follow @Playbook on Twitter for more info. But you can even just add it and say, make me this parlay at FanDuel. It'll populate the slip. Click it. Brings you right to the book. Super convenient. Saves you a lot of time, especially if you're following along parlays or round robins. The props just makes it much easier to find when you're using some AI assistance. So make sure you give a follow to @Playbook. So I will say, thank God for betting. There's 50 games, 50 FBS versus FBS games this week. It's not the sexiest card. That's always the case with Week 2. I think I have 25 of the 50 projected as 2 touchdown plus spreads. But we can bet. That's what makes this sport. There's no weeks off. There's no down weeks. I see people saying like this is there's lines, there's spreads. Plus, we do have some intriguing games, under the radar games, 4 marquee games, which we'll cover, and then we'll get to some more in the rundown. But let's start with Iowa at Iowa State, the Cyhawk rivalry. 9 of the last 13 have been decided by 1 possession. There's been 2 in that. The unders have ruled the day. I think 16 of the last 20 have gone under, although there was 2 that ended 44-41 on the dot, which is surprising in this rivalry. Iowa's won 6 straight in Ames. I think the last time that Iowa State won at home was back in 2011. We mentioned it before the season. Iowa State wants to use multiple tight ends. That's their offense this year. The receiver drop-off is pretty stark. The guys they brought in are not really up to par for what we saw last year from 2,000-yard receivers. They ran 144 plays this year. 140 have been with multiple tight ends. Burkle and Brahmer are their leading receivers. They're those 2 tight ends that Iowa State is relying on. Iowa State has gotten off to a 2-0 start, but you could poke holes in it. FCS opponent in South Dakota that's down this year. Kansas State barely won that game, and Kansas State did not look great last week. So how whatever you think of Kansas State, that win might not hold as much weight by the end of the year. Iowa 1-0, huge favorites over Albany, didn't cover. Same old Iowa it looked like. It was ugly. Gronowski, the FCS transfer quarterback, who had a ton of hype coming into the season, finished 8 of 15 for 44 yards. It was ugly. A couple of Iowa's weapons are banged up. He looked like he was nervous. He wasn't setting his feet. Does he correct that this week? Like, some of the throws were just ugly. And this offense that was supposed to take off under Gronowski didn't. Can it this week? We shall see. Iowa State I don't think they have a sack this year. There's no real pass rush. Dominic Orange is their dominant player up front, but Iowa's a really good center that might be able to contain him. Is this going to be your typical Iowa low-scoring game? A lot of them we've seen in this particular rivalry. Or does Gronowski bounce back? Does Beck and these tight ends have the juice to attack this Iowa defense? What are you seeing here?
Yeah, of course the spread is 3, right? That's what it seems to always be, one way or the other. I think if you're a trends player, the road team has won the last 5 in this series, so I'm not sure if that means anything here. I project this Iowa State -1, so I don't think it's outrageous. I think it's outrageous at 3.5. I think it's going to come back at 3. I'd be shocked if it went above 3.5.
Yeah, there's some real sharp money on Iowa State. Could be sharper money on Iowa later in the week, but the 3.5 is definitely tempting. Gronowski's just So you can't come away last week with much confidence.
Well, Gronowski went 8 of 15 the opener against Albany. No drops, no big time throws, an ADOT of 4.8. I think I'm reading that right. It's just the same Iowa tempo, 31 0.8 seconds per play. The timing was just, Ferentz talked about it. The timing was just off in the passing game. The pocket presence struggles there for him. Underthrew of all 7 incompletions, underthrew almost all of them. And, I give credit to Albany. They were consistently in diamond nickel packages, which they weren't going to let anything get down the field. So maybe that was kind of what was going on too. But still, Gronowski was not even close on any of his passes. I will say this, of 15 passing attempts, they went to 10 different targets. So there's not an answer in this Iowa passing game at all. And I think they're searching for it. Now, Kamari Moulton, 3 rushing attempts with Albany before he went out for injury. Enter in Xavier Williams, right? I mean, that's the story out of the backfield. That zone read with Gronowski, that was where the bread and butter is going to be for Iowa, especially in this game. Williams, 122 yards on 11 carries, and he busted a 43-yarder during the game. 26 outside zone plays, 18 inside zone. So you can expect that's what they're going to run against Big Citrus, Dom Orange. Can they stop the zone read? Kansas State was stuffed at above average national average level. So you would think that Iowa State could, but you mentioned Logan Jones, Iowa center. I mean, he's heavily experienced. He is excellent in grading. He was their center last year. He's one of the best for Iowa. Kansas State averaged 4.7 per rush with Avery Johnson and Joe Jackson. I mean, it was Joe Jackson, not Dylan Edwards. So how much credit are we giving that Iowa front? It's only a 6-man front running that 3-3-5 stack. Iowa State, in a short sample size against outside zone, they have a low 30% success rate against outside zone. So I think there may be a little bit of success here between Williams and Gronowski running this outside zone outside the tackles, maybe avoiding Big Citrus in the middle. And Iowa State has missed tackles issues in the linebacker area. I know that they have a lot back from injury with Caleb Bacon, everyone back, but Cooper Abell is already up to 4 missed tackles this season. I go to the other side of the ball. Everybody knows I love all the 13 and 14 and 12 that Iowa State's running. The question is can Iowa amp up the pressure on Rocco Beck? 12 of 26 dropbacks, he's already had pressure. And that comes against Kansas State. That comes against South Dakota. Like almost half of his dropbacks have had pressure so far this year. That would make me a little bit worried. Iowa produced 14 pressures against Albany. I know it's the Albany offensive line. It's all we've got to go on so far. But mostly their edge, Max Llewellyn, Brian Allen, they're the ones producing all of this pressure. That makes me a little bit nervous for what Iowa State's got outside on the tackles. Tyler Miller, James Neal, they've given up 7 pressures already this season. I think Rocco Beck's going to be under a little bit of duress here. Iowa State's offense, they run 12, 13, 14, average success rate with outside zone, mostly a little bit of inside zone when they do run the ball with Sama and with Hansen. But Hansen's just averaging 2.6 yards after first contact. It's actually lower than last year. So for me, I lean Iowa. I make this game 1. I would take the points here. I think I should be scooping up 3.5 right now as you and I are recording this. So I'm in with the Hawkeyes here. I do love Iowa State. I've loved them all season. I said I think they'll win the Big 12. But Rocco Beck already has 3 fumbles. Iowa State is not playing clean. And that Kansas State win, Kansas State should
have lost at home to an FCS team last week. But
yeah, how are we grading that? Are we sure Kansas State's a good victory? Kansas State was plus 2.5 yards per play on Iowa State. How good is Iowa State? I'm not sure. I'm a little nervous about it. I think I should be betting 3.5 right now on Iowa.
Yeah, it feels like it's a game. Gronowski has to bounce back, but it feels like a game that'll be close. It's low scoring. There might be some wind. I don't think it's going to be as bad as initially thought, but that's worth watching. I don't know if that would really hurt either offense. This Iowa State offense isn't like a downfield chuck it. I mean, what did Beck have? Like close to 60 deep balls last year. He's only had 6 so far.
Dink the tight end over the top, right?
Yeah, it's just tight ends. 2 leading receivers are tight ends. So Iowa usually does a good job of preventing explosives. Iowa State did get a couple on them last year and a comeback win by 1. But yeah, I think the 3.5, like Iowa's probably going to make their special teams are going to be excellent. They're probably going to make some plays on special teams. And this game should be close. I think at 3.5, you have to look at Iowa. All right, let's move on to our second marquee game. The Board of Transparency, by the way, is back. Head-to-head, I am up 1-0 after LSU Clemson. We have 1 pending, which is I have Clemson not to win the ACC. I'm feeling better about that.
Yeah, I would after seeing Miami. Holy shit.
The agree, Georgia State, FU Lane Kiffin, lost. First half under, got there in Notre Dame, Miami. So 1-1 on the agree. 35-24-1 overall. Trash, you split. I am 0-1. I had Georgia State. I doubled up there with losses, but it happens. 21-13 now for me in trash. We have a bunch more trash coming later in the show. But I think we're going to have another head-to-head. Here we go. SMU, Baylor. Baylor heads to SMU.
I'm so wrong on this number. I mean, for everybody out there, yeah, SMU was the first team I played. I'll let you intro, but
First bet I made was Baylor.
Why am I okay? Go ahead and set it up. I want to know why you and I are so wrong on this game. Why is nobody?
Oh, we're not both. Why are we both so wrong? No, you're wrong. I'm not wrong. I replied to you as soon as you put in.
I know
we're head to head. I took 4.5. It is now 2.5 with total 63.5. I mean, I made this like 1.5-ish. I admittedly am higher on Baylor than the market. I'm lower than the market on SMU. Baylor last week, they did outgain Auburn 6.7 to 6.1 yards per play, had more yards. They had 3 turnovers on downs, 2 in the red zone. They also gave up kick return for a touchdown. They had a 50-yard run called back for a BS hold, 9 penalties. Their offense cooked that Auburn defense, and I don't think this SMU defense is as good as the Auburn defense. They lost a lot of talent. Safeties are really good. Defensive line has some juice, but corner, linebacker, there's some questions. And by the way, speaking of linebacker, they're probably going to be without one of their best linebackers in Kilgore, who got hurt last week, and they're probably going to be without one of their starting wide receivers. The SMU last week, it looked bad. Everyone's talking about Baylor losing to Auburn. I love what I saw from the offense. SMU was ugly and sloppy. They couldn't run the ball. Versus East Texas A&M, they had 2 defensive touchdowns in that game, and they lost 2 key starters. What happened? So what happened to Baylor last week? Well, Aranda, who talked about defending the run and stopping the run, hey, make Jackson Arnold beat you, didn't do that. He was worried about his secondary. By the way, the secondary will get a key piece back in Williams this week. And then he never adjusted, and Auburn ran for over 300 yards. One of the most underrated things that happened in that game, or at least talked about, I should say, is Jackie Marshall got hurt. He's their best run defender by far. He went out in the first quarter. They already lost another interior defender to the NFL. They lost one late in the spring portal, and one of the other guys was banged up. So you had a help there, Aranda. I don't know what he was doing adjustment-wise. We'll see if Marshall goes this week. I'm not sure. It's up in the air. But I expect a more diverse game plan this week. Number one, the SMU receivers are not the Auburn receivers. The SMU running game, Kevin Jennings can run, but he's not Jackson Arnold. You don't have to worry as much about this rushing attack. And I think Baylor is the better team. I'm super low on this SMU team. I think we'll see more of the transfer nose tackles this week who only played a combined 25 snaps for Baylor last week. What it comes down to me, Baylor, I trust their offense much more than SMU's offense right now. And against 2 defenses that I have questions about, I think Baylor wins this game. Sick 'em.
Just seeing the ball completely different from you, Joe Blow, 3-letter tout services, everybody in the world. Not a single person has an SMU bet except for me, and I've got a bad number, and I double dipped on the money line today.
I'll put it on. What do you want to do?
It's 2.5 across the board. You just want to put it up there?
We'll put it at 3. We can end with a since I took 4.5 and you're taking money line. We'll put it at 3.
Wait, I didn't think we did whole number. It's 2.5 across the board. There's not a 3 out there.
All right, fine. I'll put it at 2. I took a bad number last week at LSU for you. I'll take a bad number again with Baylor.
What do you mean bad? It's 2.5. I can't find.
No, last week I took a 3.5 to make it on a. Oh, whatever. I'll take 2.5. Baylor was winning outright.
No, I'm just saying that there's no 2 or 3 out there. It's just 2.5 everywhere.
I'll put it down at 2.5. They're going to win. I won't even need the points.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, okay. Let me say what I see here. First off, the over I also fired on. It's come back down a little bit, but it gets over 62. The next key number is 65. We'll see where this goes. Both teams much faster last week than the versions that they were in 2024. SMU went 20 seconds per play. Baylor was at 22 seconds per play. Could have been conducive to the games that they were in, especially with Baylor trailing and trying to catch up. I understand that, but still, they were both faster than what they were last year. So that's why I think the tempo may be a little bit increased here. The SMU offense, 5.3 yards per play and 31 rushing attempts against East Texas A&M. I understand it's East Texas A&M or Commerce, or whatever it is they were called, but the Mustangs ran over right guard. And here's what I'm focusing on. Why did Baylor get their ass kicked? Because Jackson Arnold tucked the ball and ran over right guard. Once they made that decision, the game was over. Over. The Baylor interior defense was horrific. It's like there was nobody there. It
Well,
was like they should have charged the toll. They should have asked for $1 because Jackson Arnold just ran right through there like there was no one there. So where did the Mustangs run last week? 7 times over the right guard for an average of 7.9 per carry. I know it's East Texas A&M. They ran over the centers 7 times for 36 yards. That's the offense. That's what they do. That's what Baylor just got their ass kicked trying to defend. I mean, running back Derek McFall, TJ Harden, Chris Johnson Jr. forced 10 missed tackles off 23 rushing attempts last week. That's insane. Inside zone, they run 75% of the time of their rushing attempts. That's all they ran against East Texas A&M last week. So that's what's going to happen. Baylor missed 21 tackles against Auburn. Starting edge Marion Winston and interior Devontae Tizino responsible for 5 of them. Can they set contain? I mean, the safeties, Devin Bobby and Tyler Turner, each responsible for 5. I mean, I expect SMU to go straight up the gut with no resistance. Am I watching a completely different game when I saw Baylor and Auburn?
Hey, first of all, SMU played East Texas A&M, as you said. SMU's offensive line is nowhere close to as
This
good
team
as
just
Auburn.
made the college football playoff.
Yeah, they lost a lot from that team. And there's no Brashad Smith. Their wide receivers are way down. They're without a starting wide receiver. RJ Maryland's not even fully healthy. He's only playing 20 snaps. I don't see it. And they should be averaging 8-9 yards a carry against East Texas A&M, not 4.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So
They average 4 yards a carry. And by East Texas A&M put up 350, 360. This defense is down. The offensive line is down. The rushing attack is down. The wide receivers aren't as good. Baylor's the better team in my eyes.
Okay, let's go to the other side of the ball. All right, Sawyer Robertson, 27-48. I've never been a big fan. Way more big-time throws than turnover. I'm sorry, more mistakes than big-time throws. He had 15 pressures in the game. I get it. You could say that's Auburn's defense. He had 3 drops. I get it. You could say first game jitters. Baylor's running backs. This is a stat that I love. Bryson Washington, Caden Knighton. They have almost the same number of yards after first contact as they do average per carry. What does that mean? They were touched in the backfield all day. The offensive line did nothing. Baylor's offensive line did nothing. You could say, it's Auburn's defensive line. You could say that. The tight end Michael Trigg and slot Cole Wilson, they
still averaged 7 yards per play for the game.
Okay. They were the slot Cole Wilson, the tight end Michael Trigg, they were excellent. Okay, 15 catches, 27
Hawkins,
targets.
I mean, this wide receiver room is loaded. And by the way, Washington had a 50-yard run called back for a phantom hold. So that should be in those numbers.
Well,
it's 500 yards of offense against Auburn. This SMU team is not as good as Auburn.
SMU has 2 excellent safeties.
Yeah, that's it.
Corner.
That's all. Their corners are not that good.
A slot corner. I said slot corner.
Yeah, their corners their linebackers are going to get cooked.
Did anybody else watch Auburn just destroy the Baylor interior up the gut between the hashes? It was insane. Like, did nobody else see that?
Yeah, that's not. Kevin Jennings isn't going to run the ball 20 times.
He might after watching that film.
All right. Well, we disagree. It's on the board. I think Baylor's the better team. I trust their offense more. I think this SMU team, I think this is a 7-8 win SMU team, to be honest. Major steps back on defense. The offensive line was not getting a push last week against East Texas A&M. It was sloppy. Last week they had 3 turnovers against East Texas A&M. They had 85 penalty yards. Like, that operation was they get no push. The yardage was 400 to 350. They got 2 defensive touchdowns that make that look much more lopsided than it was. I wasn't impressed. I was impressed with the Baylor offense. That's what I'm banking on here. Sick 'em. All right, head-to-head there. Let's talk some SEC. Kentucky, in my backyard, will host Ole Miss. Line down to 9.5, total down to 50.5. You can't be that confident in the Kentucky offense, or Zach Calzada specifically. After last week, he went 10 of 23 for 85 yards. No touchdowns and interception, 3.7 yards per attempt. The wide receivers had 4 catches. They did have a 79-yard run. You remove that, it was 3.43 yards per carry. The offense, it was not ugly. Ole Miss did what they do against all these little sisters of the poor, and they ran it up and celebrated on the sidelines like it was meaningful. So here's the question. Can Kentucky keep up? Is their offense going to give them anything? And we know that what the defense is going to do. This is revenge from last year. UK went into Ole Miss after they got done beating Little Sisters of the Poor and beat them as, near 3 touchdown underdogs. they're going to want to take away the explosive play, and they're going to want to shorten this game, which makes sense why this total has come down. That's the way that I would look. UK, I mean, you go last year. UK was taking the play clock all the way down. They're going to try to prevent any explosive plays, make Ole Miss drive the field with the still inexperienced quarterback. This line keeps going back and forth. I have a sneaky suspicion that Kentucky keeps this a game, but I don't know how much confidence I have in Zach Calzada.
Right.
What are your thoughts here?
I bet Kentucky, and I don't feel proud about it. But, I mean, look, Ole Miss obliterated Georgia State. I mean, half of their drives average more than 10 yards per play. It's not even worth discussing, except for the fact that Austin Simmons had 3 turnover-worthy plays and a fumble. He was extremely sloppy in that game. 20 of 31, had 3 drops. Penn State transfer Harrison Wallace III, definitely the target that he loves the most out of everybody else. He had 9 targets, 130 yards on 5 catches.
That's not a good look for Drew Aller, by the way. Wallace going there. And
No. I mean, running back Quan Lacey, he forced 13 missed tackles on 16 rushing attempts. I mean, that really, to me, is more about how bad the Georgia State defense is. I mean, I remember that's a hell of a ratio.
They did look more juiced. The Ole Miss backfield, which was a problem last year, does look like it has more juice. But again, it is Georgia State. The run D was concerning for Ole Miss at times. Like, that's where Kentucky has to make. That's what they're going to try to do. Run the ball, shorten the game, prevent the explosive.
I have confidence in Kentucky because of what they did against Toledo's 26 rushing attempts. They stuffed nearly half of them. The Rockets averaged 3.1 yards per play on rushing attempts. 13 possessions for the Rockets, well below the 2+ first down rate that they should have had. Explosive drive rate, I think they only pulled off 1. I'm not saying Toledo is the exact of Ole Miss, guys. I know we have really short samples here, but the Kentucky defense did what I would want them to do. I have nothing to say about the Kentucky offense. I mean, yards per play less than Toledo. The offense produced 4.6 yards per play. Calzada, no TDs or big-time throws. I mean, neither of the running backs higher than 2.4 yards after first contact. A 79-yard bust by Dowdle, but, I mean, other than that, 13 carries for 50 yards. It's just nothing glamorous about the Kentucky offense. But tell me why this line isn't higher. I mean, like, the market is, like, screaming to me, like, if you look at Ole Miss offense on the road, right? And here's another reason. I make this 10.5, so I've been staring at the 10 all week. Like, am I going to do it? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. You go look at Ole Miss.
I make it 8.5. So at 10, I like Kentucky. My numbers say I like Kentucky. I just don't. This is probably like Kentucky and the under are probably correlated. I might parlay the under and Kentucky with the points because if they're able to play keep away, run the ball, and the Ole Miss offensive line still has some questions, and they're able to prevent the explosive, shorten the game, get some sacks, maybe force a turnover or 2. This game could be interesting.
Well, here's what made the decision for me, right? Ole Miss offense on the road. These are games from the last 2 years. 17 points at Florida, 26 points at LSU, 27 points at South Carolina, 17 on the road in the 2023 Egg Bowl.
They've been an under machine on the road.
17 in Georgia, 10 at Alabama in 2023. They put up these gaudy numbers
against Little Caesars.
Right. And then they show up on the road and it's just not the same offense. So I don't know if that's a communication issue. I don't know, but I'm taking Kentucky.
I think a 10 or better plays Kentucky. I think I'm going to be parlaying Kentucky in the under. It's a clear path for Kentucky. If Kentucky gets behind and they have to start throwing with Calzada, what I saw last week, it's bad. But if they can shorten the game, I think they can run on Ole Miss. Then there's, although like even the rush offense last week, like 41 attempts, 3.43 yards per carry if you remove the 80-yard run, not too encouraging. But that's the path. Shorten the game. The same game plan as last year. All right, let's move on to Michigan at Oklahoma. This is probably the game I'm looking forward to watching the most, just to find out more about both offensive operations, specifically at quarterback with John Mateer and Bryce Underwood. Oklahoma took some early money. They are out to a 4.5, 5.5 point favorite. Total's coming way down on 45.5, even some 44.5s out there. So what did we see last week? I mean, Oklahoma played Illinois State. Mateer put up gaudy numbers, but there were some throws that he missed at times.
Yeah.
They also only ran, more concerned things, they ran the ball 32 times for 103 yards.
Yeah.
That's not good. And they have 2 true freshmen on the offensive line. So I think they'll be able to run the ball against Michigan. I don't know. Michigan's defensive line definitely isn't as good as last year. Barham, their star linebacker, is going to be suspended for the first half. He's important in the pass rush. I still want to see what Mateer can do against Power 4 competition. Last year, against Washington, Boise, and Texas Tech. This is a step up, by the way. Boise had 8 sacks, by the way. They blitzed a lot, and they had some success doing it. He only had 2 big-time throws, 4 turnover-worthy plays in those 3 games. He was sacked 10 times. He had trouble at times processing the blitz, getting it out to his hot. So they're playing Wink Martindale. If Oklahoma can't run the ball, they couldn't run the ball against Illinois State, but maybe they were just going super vanilla. You never know that. Like, they're not running counters and traps. Everything was just like, hey, run it straight ahead. So maybe that's part of it. But I got to go based on what I saw. And now this is a huge step up in competition. That's going to put them in passing downs with Mateer. Expect a heavy blitz. How does Mateer process that and handle the blitz? They'll miss Barham in that area in the first half for what it's worth. So we'll see what Mateer's got. And on the other side, I really love what I saw from Underwood. Just look at the guy. It's like, all right, this kid's going to be a guy. He's got all the tools, obviously highly touted. The problem is his offensive line, his wide receivers still leave a lot to be desired. Michigan's still not there as far as like having a top 5 offensive line, top 5. They're getting there. They're recruiting very well. So is Michigan, they have good backfield, but is Michigan going to be able to move the ball on the road against this really good Oklahoma defense with a true freshman making his first road start? And by the way, what did we see last week? Notre Dame, brand new starter on the road, lost to Miami as favorites. Alabama, Ty Simpson making his first start, lost on the road. We saw it across the sport. Yep. With the experienced quarterback having the edge. So it's a tough spot for the kid. So obviously under makes sense to me after I just spilled out the whole game. Now it's come down a bunch. Who's going to make a mistake probably goes a long way in determining this. But like the blitz versus Mateer, how he handles it. And then what is Michigan going to do to move the ball against this really good Oklahoma defense? So under makes sense here. What are you saying?
Yeah, I've already fired on the first half under. That number continues to go down. I would say the next key is obviously 21 and a half. But a lot of the things you said, I echo because that's what went into it. So OU averaged 3.5 yards per play on 31 runs against Illinois State. They were stuffed above the national average. They were stuffed 32%. That against Illinois State? Huh? On 23 rushing attempts, Torrey Blaylock, Xavier Robinson, Javante Barnes, a trio just forced 3 missed tackles. What? Against Illinois State? Now, Mateer pulled 20 yards on a scramble, but he had just 8 yards on 3 designed runs. That is not the John Mateer that I was piping about all summer. The Michigan defense stuffed 11 of 25 New Mexico runs. Expected. They limited him 3 yards per play. Expected. Michigan executed 9 tackles for loss against the Lobos. So, again, I don't think the OU rush is going to be there against this Michigan defense. Now, it's a little bit different with the passing game. There was some success there, but I trust that Michigan's secondary is going to be a little bit better. The passing game was electric. Southern Illinois wideout Keontae Lewis had 2 TDs, 9 catches on 10 targets. That obviously is the guy. Deion Burks is still there, 7 catches, a TD, and 2.4 yards per route run. The Michigan offense, though, I think this is where we're at good on good, right? Because I saw Bryce Underwood running that zone read. I saw him throwing blocks. I saw him playing like way above what a true freshman should be playing. He is going to be good. But you mentioned it. What are these freshmen?
We're going from New Mexico at home to Oklahoma on the road. So it's
right.
big dichotomy.
That's a hostile environment, right? That ain't a neutral site. That ain't, Purdue. This is a hostile environment. They're going to run a lot of inside zone. What does OU defend at a very high level? Inside zone. They shut down Illinois State's inside zone. You go and look at last year's numbers. This defense shuts down inside zone. So Bryce Underwood was 21 of 31 passing, 4 drops, 4 pressures, 2 sacks. I'd say the offensive line still has some tweaking to do in protecting him and passing downs. That's going to come into play here. Justice Haynes, 5.8 yards after first contact. I know it's New Mexico's defense. 3 TDs, couple of explosives. I make the game 6, so I don't really have a feeling on the side. I just think in the first half under, if Bryce Underwood is going to have these fireworks, if he's going to show everything that he's been made out to be, which I think he will someday, then I think that's going to come in the second half. I'm just not taking a freshman. I couldn't bet on a freshman in his first road game. And at the same time, I'm seeing way too much with Mateer to go up against a good defense and run inside zone. It's going to come down to his arm if OU wants to win this. But first half under for me.
Yeah, I make it 4.7. I agree with the Oklahoma move early. Can't get there now. I got to start betting even earlier to like try to find ways to.
One book had 2.5. One book had 2.5. I went to go grab it, called somebody. I said, "You're in the state that has 2.5." It was 4 everywhere. I was like, "Stop."
Service releases are getting earlier and earlier. It's crazy. All right, let's move on to the border war. Kansas at Missouri renew their rivalry. They haven't played. Kansas said no thanks anymore. I think back in 2011. I'll never forget that 2007 classic game. Missouri here is sitting as I think we're still 6.5 point favorite total, right around 51. So what did we see last week? We saw Bo Pribula have a really good game, but it was against Central Arkansas.
Yep.
How much can we really take from that? Not really sure. It was going to be a quarterback competition, but Sam Horn got hurt. It is Pribula's job. I'm still worried a bit about the Missouri offensive line. They lost their tackles, but I do expect them to go run heavy here. Pribula, Hardy, the ULM transfer, who I really like. And what could really hurt Kansas is all of their injuries at linebacker. They have a number of guys who are probably going to be out here. Kamara, Sip. So I expect Missouri just to go super run heavy here. And on the other side of the ball, I think Missouri's defensive line could win that battle up front. Although, it is worth noting, I've been super impressed with Kansas. Now, who have they played? Not really anyone. Played an FCS team, Wagner, and they played Fresno. But we're starting to just gather data points. That's what we're doing early in the year. Fresno did just destroy Georgia Southern. Now, it's Georgia Southern, but, I mean, they ran for like 8 yards a carry. Kansas completely shut them down. So, like, that win becomes I was thinking, like, all right, Fresno's a mess. Maybe not. Maybe that speaks more to Kansas. But I think the linebacker injuries might cost them here. Although Daniels looks really good in this new look offense. It's back to the Kotelnicki stuff. Fits more of his strengths. I like some of the secondary guys look like they're going to be a hit for Kansas. I wish they were fully healthy at linebacker. But that might end up costing them here. If this gets to 7, Kansas is the play. That's what I'm waiting for. I have this around like 5.5. But the linebacker injuries could end up being the difference. Like in the trenches and that Missouri defensive line, how many plays can they make? What can Daniels do with his legs? Border war, a lot of hate here. Really looking forward to this. This is a true like state-on-state rivalry. What are you seeing here?
Yeah, I think Kansas is a play at definitely at 7. There is one book out there sitting at 7 if you happen to live in Pennsylvania, another one in Jersey, but it's not really out there wide, and that's kind of out of my reach. So I'm kind of waiting for that 7 to be everywhere before I hit it. I think we'll get there. Which team in this rivalry, the border war, pulled out of the Liberty Bowl because they didn't want to play the other one? Yeah, that was Missouri. Missouri's the one that made the phone call and said, I don't want to play Kansas in the Liberty Bowl. And kind of interested to see how Drink treats this game. Not a lot of his recruits are familiar with this rivalry. If you're from the state of Kansas, you know exactly what this rivalry is. And for everybody out there listening to this, if you don't understand the intensity of this, I am just outside the sphere of Kansas City geographically. This is such a hated rivalry when I was growing up, like death threats. You were talking Alabama, Auburn type death threat phone calls, like felonies and shit like that. Like these two hate each other. But this isn't Drink's roots. And I don't think a lot of the players are from anywhere, west. I don't know how much they care about this game, to be honest with you. Central Arkansas had 44 snaps in standard downs and went 50% success rate and averaged 4.6 on rushing, 2 explosives, and was stuffed below the national average. They had 0 success passing the ball, 2 turnovers, 2 and 13 on third downs. But that score is misleading against Missouri. It's completely misleading. Central Arkansas moved the ball in standard downs. They sucked in passing downs. They could not convert a third down for their life, but they moved the ball on 1st and 10, 2nd and 7. Central Arkansas had 111 yards on kickoff returns. Okay, that's a lot. But, I mean, the question is, can Kansas defense shut down Ahmad Hardy and Bo Pribula?
Illinois at Duke. This is a fascinating game. Illinois 3-ish point favorite. Everyone is like, Oh my God, this is the trap game. There's no trap games. It's just there's power ratings, and then the market will dictate where they go from there.
Is Illinois good enough to have a trap game?
Yeah, but like, this isn't like Vegas knows. This is power. Like, I project this at around 2.5. So 3.5.
Oh, this is filling that whole narrative where it's like the line is stinky. Illinois should be more. Like, are they not watching Duke football?
People just think like, oh, Illinois last year, like they had a pretty fluky year, to be honest. But look, at 3, I think you got to take Duke. 3.5, I'm waiting on. I think there's some juice 3.5s out there. I will be on Duke.
Yeah.
There's no Pickett. Pickett's gone in the secondary. Moore, one of the best safeties, he's still hurt. But I still think their secondary is good enough. Rivers, lockdown corner, one of the best in the country. Manny Diaz will be able to play the defense how he wants to play his defense this week, because Illinois doesn't have juice at receiver. We saw that. Like, the drop off is huge from Franklin and Bryant. There's no guy that's going to take over the game.
And Altmaier couldn't find a guy either. He's tried everybody.
And Altmaier under pressure can be very shaky, and that's what's going to happen here. There's going to be tackles for loss. This is what the Duke defense does. Now, what do I think Illinois does? And by the way, Duke over the last 2 years, they're 12-2 at home. They've lost by 1 to SMU in overtime and 7 to Notre Dame. That's it. So I do think the Illinois defensive line looks improved. Thompson from, Yakis is back. Thompson from Wisconsin. DeRozier, I think, or something from Florida State. He looked pretty good. Again, it's Western Illinois. But I think their defensive line, which I was worried about, might have some juice. I'm not sure if Duke's going to be able to run the ball. The run blocking isn't great. But they upgraded a quarterback. They were winning last year despite their quarterback play. Mensa. Scott Barkhate's a pretty interesting new weapon. But I like the Illinois secondary. So the Illinois secondary is very good. I think they can hold their own here. So I think the under makes a lot of sense. But how I see this game playing out is, at 2.5, Duke at home, some of the matchups. Illinois should get its starting guard back, by the way. I think you got to take the field goal, especially 3.5 I'm taking. So I'm going to watch the market. But I think the lack of Illinois' receivers after losing Bryant and Franklin is huge, because now Duke can play how it wants to play, leave Rivers out on an island, bring pressure, bring blitzes, get to Altmaier, who's probably going to make a key mistake or two. I think ultimately that will be the difference. Yeah, I like Duke here, field goal or better. And I'm riding with Manny Diaz. How I think this game plays out, though, is I don't think Duke's going to have a ton of success on offense. I really respect this Illinois defense, especially if the defensive line is better than I expected. And I also expect Burt to just go run heavy here. Mm-hmm. Like, you want to try to attack these Duke linebackers. You want to try and stay ahead of the sticks. You want to try and probably keep Duke's offense off the field. You've got a pace clash here. Illinois is probably going to go slower. Duke's probably going to go faster. So under makes some sense here, but I think you got to take the field goal with Duke. Agree or disagree?
100% agree. I've already bet it. You can find
put it on the board.
Yeah, put it on the board. It's a big time agree.
Is there 3.5 out there?
There's FanDuel's got it juiced, and they're the only one. 120. So it doesn't, and they're the only ones. So it doesn't.
All right, we'll put it at 3.
Yeah,
we're fair around here.
I don't know if we know how good this Duke offense can be, because I think Darian Mensah is. I don't think we know his ceiling. I mean,
he looked great in the second half last week. It was a rough start, and then he really looked like he picked it up.
And then he destroyed them. 4 big-time throws, no mistakes, 88% adjusted completion percentage. He had 2 drops, 27-34 with 2 drops. 2 of them weren't even on him. I know it's Elon, right? But it's not like he didn't produce at Tulane. And it's not like Duke didn't go out of their way with their checkbook to bring this kid in when they already had Malik Murphy on payroll. I mean, there's a reason they went and got Darian Mensah. Half of Duke's drives, 10 drives, half of them were explosive. That means 10-plus yards per play on the drive. Not as many big-time throws for Luke Altmaier as his touchdowns. It was a flawless day. He went 17-22. Hank Beatty out of the slot seems to be the attention guy. 5 catches on 5 targets. Then the tight end, Justin Bowick. Justin Bowick hauled in 2 TDs. But what I think is interesting about Justin Bowick is I think he's just a red zone option, because he was only on the field for 8 snaps that were passing attempts. So obviously look for Justin Bowick. Maybe if you're playing fantasy, college fantasy, Justin Bowick, 2 TDs and only on the field for 8 passing attempts. That's a ratio. Duke had 10 tackles for loss, 3 sacks for Manny Diaz. I think they're going to dial it up. I think they're coming after Luke Altmaier. I don't think he knows who he's safe with on the field. It's just not as good of a passing attack anymore. And he doesn't have
Brian had 4 walk-off wins last year. Like, he won 4 games from them at the end. Like,
there's regression to that.
Security blanket. Like, if you don't have those receivers that you're in sync with that are dominant on the outside, Duke can play its defense, especially at home.
I think Mensah is going to be. I think he's going to get movement against this Illinois defense, and that's saying something. Illinois defense is very, very good. So I like Duke. I also like Duke's team total over. I think Mensah has. We haven't found his ceiling yet.
All right, we got an agree on Duke. Let's get to the rundown. We'll hit a couple other games here. BC at Michigan State. I think we disagree on here. Numbers kind of gotten away, so I don't know if I'll put it on head-to-head. But I like Michigan State. Look, Lonergan looked good for BC. It was against Little Sisters of the Poor. I like some of the things I saw from Michigan State. It was interesting, though. They were rotating offensive linemen in 2s every drive. Very interesting. But I liked Omari Kelly, his addition with Nick Marsh. Childs, I think. Now, it was Western Michigan. How bad is Western Michigan? They could just be really, really bad. But I liked some of the things I saw from the Michigan State defense. I just don't trust. BC couldn't run the ball. Now, they weren't running their counters and traps. They couldn't run the ball last week against an FCS team. That's concerning me because I think in the trenches, they're going to take a step back. They lose one of the best defensive ends in college football. When BC is good, they're good in the trenches. So I like Sparty to get it done at home. You like BC.
I do like BC. I actually make BC the favorite. I mean, I don't know if I want to go step out on a limb and put anything on the board on BC. I mean, they played Fordham. I don't know how much I'm going to take from that, but Dylan Lonergan was pretty good. I mean, 4 TDs, 2 big time throws. He's got an identity here with wideout Lewis Bond. And, the Michigan State defense, they didn't allow a score to Western Michigan. There's a late pick 6 there by Alessio.
Yeah. First beat of the year.
But here's the thing that really bothered me about Michigan State. And maybe the reason I've got Boston College power rated high enough to be the favorite in this game over Michigan State. Michigan State defensively graded 126th in coverage and 129th in pass rush against Western Michigan. That worries me a little bit. And when you go to the other side of the ball, Aiden Childs had 1 big time throw and 2 turnover worthy plays against Western Michigan's defense. They failed to produce an explosive drive. 176 hidden yards helped them with field position. They were 4 and 13 on third downs, 3.3 yards per play in passing downs. I mean, this is not the box score I'd want to see out of Michigan State to feel confident enough to bet them this week. So I'm just going to trust the numbers that I made. And I've got BC in the app. And obviously this Michigan State line is still taking money because I took 3.5. It's up to 4.5. You throw this in the pile with SMU. Is week 2, week 3 bonanza bullshit where these power ratings don't match with where the public is betting.
All right, Arizona State, Mississippi State. This line has come down. Another one just right away came down. I got to start to grab some of these early because I like Mississippi State. Obviously, like them a lot more 10 and 7. Arizona State did not look good last week. And they might be without their right tackle. They might be without Jalen Moss. And then it's just Jordan Tyson, who's one of the best receivers in the country. But they look like they really did. I was so curious to watch how much will they miss Cam Scadaboo. And it looked worse than I would have imagined. The offensive line looked rough. And now you might be without your good right tackle, starting a redshirt freshman. I was impressed with Mississippi State. I think they got bigger. They got stronger. Some of these 4 stars they have in the secondary, including Kelly, who's probably going to be matched up with Tyson. I was impressed with. Can he hold his own enough? I think so. It was a sloppy effort from Arizona State, but I was really impressed with Mississippi State. I think Arizona State might be in trouble here. I like Cowbell. How about you?
You can put it on the board while I'm talking. By the way, for the person that freaked out about me saying Kanye Udo doesn't have any hands, we don't know if he has any hands. He had his 3rd catch of his career for 6 yards the other day, or against Northern Arizona. So I guess he has hands. Look, Arizona State failed to create a single methodical drive against Northern Arizona. This is not the same offense as last year. Northern Arizona, Jordan Tyson, Sam Levitt, you can't create a methodical drive. Northern Arizona hit.
There's no help either. Like when Moss went out, they were playing a walk-on instead of the other kid, Henderson or whatever his name is. Like I don't understand what was going on there, and I don't love this offensive line. And there's no Scadaboo. Scadaboo, people underrated how much he did in the passing game too.
Right. He just curled over the linebacker unit, and it just was just complete chaos for defenses to try to do that. Now you've got Northern Arizona creating 5 tackles for loss. You got Arizona State being stuffed on their rushing attempts at 30%. That's the national average. I mean, what are we doing here? How is Northern Arizona putting these numbers up? Mississippi State, 6 yards per play against Southern Miss. I don't think the Southern Miss defense is that bad. Levy was actually kind of slow, 23 seconds per play. I mean, another problem with Mississippi State, like it's on the board. We're going to go with this, but 14 penalties for 119 yards, making me a little nervous.
Penalties that were bad.
Yeah, but listen, Mississippi State did force Braylon Braxton. Braylon Braxton's a good quarterback. Forced him into four turnover-worthy plays. But here's the important thing with Sam Leavitt. Mississippi State kept Braylon Braxton to 17 yards on 5 designed runs.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see to bet against Arizona State, and that's what we got.
All right, Vandy Vatek. I will be on Vatek again. I would have bet Vatek against South Carolina a million times again if that game was played. It's pure right side. They go up an 80-yard bomb, and the yardage was still equal late. My guy Sam Cephas was a great hire. Their defense looked significantly better. Corner is still a question. The game flipped on a legal punt formation, and then typical Pry fashion has 8 fat guys back there as protectors, and then they get an 80-yard punt return for a touchdown against a tired unit. Flip the whole game. Right side, wrong result. It sucked. But Drones has got to be better. Now, this isn't the South Carolina defensive line. Vandy, I like their defensive line. They have some guys, but this isn't, with Stewart and company up front. So he should have more time. He should run more. Vatek has some dudes on the outside in both greens. I call them the Green Brothers. And a couple other guys. By the way, Terry and Stewart in the backfield probably should be back this week. That's big. Also big on the returns. I'm going back to the well. I know it's not a great spot. They just played on Sunday against an SEC team, hard fought. Vandy played an FCS cupcake, although Vandy does have South Carolina on deck. But this is like Pry's job, maybe. This is Vatek's season, maybe. They had their vintage players-only meeting at home at night, Lane Stadium, trying to avenge a loss from the early last year. They lost week 1 to Vandy, 2 touchdown favorites. Oh, look, I was on Vandy that game. Now, get a cheap money line at home. I think this should be 3. So I'm going to ride with Vatek. By the way, Vandy lost Skinner at wide receiver. Their top receiver, Sherrill, I think might be out here. One of their tight ends also might be out.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm trusting Vatek one more time. If they lose this, it might go south, but I'm trusting Cephas to come up with a good game plan. And Drones, just don't throw it into the ground. Complete some wide open passes. But they basically played toe-to-toe with South Carolina on a neutral for the entire game. So I like my chances here at home just to get a win over Vandy. It won't be easy. Diego won't make it easy, but I'm going to be on the Hokies.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of lean. Yeah, I know Vandy won this game last year, and they did not win the box score. Typical Diego Pavia stuff, right?
Well, yeah, Vatek was a disaster last year.
Yeah.
A scheme disaster on both sides of the ball. They upgraded coordinators, and Vandy they needed a late touchdown drive to force overtime.
Yeah, and I think, Kyron Jones actually posted 4 big-time throws, but had 0 touchdowns to show for it. I mean, you guys scored 11 points on field goals and safeties, 2 turnover-worthy plays, 15 to 35 passing, 3 drops. South Carolina, this is what scares me if you're going to back Virginia Tech. South Carolina was supposed to be playing with a brand new defensive line, defensive front, 17 pressures on the Virginia Tech offensive line. That would make me a little bit nervous. But the Virginia Tech D completely shut down.
They were doing amazing stuff with their safeties. Their defensive line was really good.
4 sacks, 7 TFLs against the South Carolina offensive line. And here's the one that I love. South Carolina was in 12 third downs. Average distance to go, 9.3 yards. That's high. Virginia Tech's defense did its job. I like the under more than I like a side in this game.
I will be on the Hokies. All right, let's hit some. We'll do a couple minutes on look ahead or look away. For those new here, we just look at games last week and or next week, see how they might impact teams. Like, hey, we have a big game on deck next week. We might pull our starters a little earlier. We might rest some guys. We might not show as much. Spend a minute on a couple seconds on each of these. Troy at Clemson. Clemson minus 33.5. Clemson off the disappointing loss. Historically, backing these teams 30-plus point favorites off a top 15 loss as a top 15 team, bad bet. Teams usually come out way flatter than usual. Talking 26% against the spread. Clemson has some injuries. They have Georgia Tech on deck. I don't know, but I'm not interested in Troy. A pass for me. Anything there?
I would say you'd want to back Clemson here based on history. 60 in this exact same spot, 66 on App State, 51 on Citadel, 66 on Charleston Southern, 48 on FAU, just in recent history before a big ACC gameplay in a sandwich spot like this. But at the same time, they did not run the ball well at all, and they're still trying to identify, they still have a freshman kid that they want to get some touches and run the ball. Nichols averaged 4.8 yards per play and scored on both red zone attempts against Troy. So
they might just be working on their run game here, which wouldn't be.
That's exactly what I was going to say. If I was going to make a bet here, it'd be on something with a Clemson running back prop. That's what I think is going to happen here.
Florida and LSU play each other next week. Florida will host USF off that big Boise win. My notes on Florida, their right tackle is a disaster. They need to figure that out because their schedule is one of the hardest in the country. He was getting beat by Long Island last week. USF, they're probably going to wear down in this game against these top-tier teams. They usually are in it and then get blown out. I think Florida's the side here for what it's worth. But they have LSU on deck, makes it a little tricky. You pull Lagway. Although they now have a backup. The true freshman kid came in, and he looked really good. It's not the Yale kid anymore. The true freshman, he was like number 4 a couple weeks ago. But watch that right tackle spot for Florida. I think Florida's the side. And then LSU La Tech, LSU 37.5-point favorite. Maybe an under. Like LSU just stay healthy. They probably want to work on their run game like Clemson. And La Tech, I'm sorry, their offense isn't it. This kid, Kukuk, the JUCO, he's supposed to be number 3. He won the job. I watched him last week. It was bad. They didn't score in the first half against Selah. So he can run it a lot. He's like kind of like they run an air raid and he just ends up running it. He's fast. He's a good athlete, but they just saw Klubnik and shut him down. It's hard for me to see La Tech scoring much. Maybe La Tech live if LSU goes up because LSU just might shut this down. Maybe an under. There's a lot La Tech offenses. I don't know how they do anything here.
I think Miami Hurricanes are a play against South Florida on Sunday. USF's got to play this Florida game in the Swamp after they have this big victory against Boise. What is their health going to be going in next week against the Hurricanes? The Hurricanes are playing.
Iron Brown, stay healthy so you can win the American.
Miami's playing Bethune-Cookman this weekend, so I think they'll be ready to go to take South Florida. It'll be on their 3rd big game in a row next week, but that's for Sunday. As for this one, there's no real tell on the Lagway injury. He had 1 scramble for 9 yards. He got pulled. The backup got some work in. Calf and shoulder injuries are said to be just fine. I'm going to need to see it in this game. Florida, I don't know. I put this right on 17, so it was a no play for me. I think you're right. I think Florida definitely is the play here. I do have a play on La Tech LSU, and you've already alluded to it. Like, how bad is this La Tech team? They failed to create a methodical against Selah. You failed to create a 10-play drive. La Tech was great.
I unfortunately went back and watched most of that game.
They were granted 3 turnovers against Selah and still only won 24-0.
They had a defensive touchdown and almost another one.
Listen, Clemson, when you look at what Clemson did against LSU's defense, and I went back and I've combed through the box scores and everything, so now I'm a big believer in the LSU defense. All right, Clemson failed to have an explosive drive. They were stuffed on 50% of their rushing attempts, and Klubnik had to escape from 8 quarterback hurries. And the Clemson average distance on 3rd down was 8.5 yards. That is large. And La Tech, who couldn't create a methodical against Selah, is going to do something here. The number out there is 7 for the team total on La Tech. I took La Tech under 7. Are they scoring 8 points?
My only worry is I think their better quarterback. I don't know what Cumby's doing is the backup. So if the backup comes in and runs the air raid, the kid who was their quarterback last year, Bullock, that would be my only worry. But
this LSU defense isn't letting up.
Now I see you on my LSU bandwagon. West Virginia at Ohio. West Virginia open 2.5 out to 3.5. Tough spot for West Virginia, maybe going to Ohio. They have Pitt on deck, backyard brawl, really hyped game, especially for Rich Rod. This points bonanza. I like the over.
Yeah.
Ohio's defense stinks. They lost everyone, and then Parker Navarro is that guy. West Virginia started to figure out that offense the second half last week. Pace should be high here. Points.
Yeah, tempo is going to be high for Rich Rod, no matter if there's an overlook or not. 8.2 yards per play for West Virginia against Robert Morris. Ohio and Navarro is an absolute truck. It's just something that we should just count on yearly, I guess. I missed 59. What's it at? 16.5 as we're recording. It's not coming back. So the next key is 62 and then 65. It's not coming back. So I think there's a lot of points here, and it's not going to stop. Not with the way Rich Rod plays, right? He just doesn't slow down and start handing the ball off and say dive over the A gap.
Yep. Someone just hit the La Tech under. Who's listening to this? Hitting this just moved from 51.5 to 50.5. All right, Texas A&M, Utah State. Texas A&M has Notre Dame on deck. Maybe don't show as much. I don't know. I made it 30. I agree with the move out to 31.5.
Yeah, but Collin Klein needs to be better in standard downs. I mean, Texas A&M failed to create a methodical drive last week. They averaged 9.2 yards to go on third downs, 11 third down attempts. I just don't think Collin Klein called a very good game. And I don't think Utah State was very good either. They were stuffed on 15 to 27 rushing attempts, but they still managed to bust 5 explosives. It was like boom or bust with them. Either they were tackled behind the line of scrimmage or they busted a big run. So, I make the game 32, so it's a pass for me. But I need to see better standard downs out of Texas A&M for me to consider them against Notre Dame.
All right, let's do a quick FC yes or no. We'll have many more of these games later in the year, but Georgia, Tennessee have FCS games before they play. We'll see if Kirby's 0-14 against the spread as a 38-plus point favorite can finally cover. But you wanted to mention Western Carolina, Wake.
Yeah. Well, Wake's has a short week coming up going to NC State, so it's sort of like a FCS or no and our look ahead, look away. I mean, they have 6 days to prepare for NC State. Who says they're not preparing for them now? I think this game should be lined around 16. I have no clue where the market is. I don't see a lot on the board. I'd have to go dive into a couple of shady books to go find one probably. But Western Carolina is coming off of a shootout with Gardner-Webb, 52-45. They know that they can score points. Wake Forest beat Kennesaw by 1. They allowed the Owls to have 4 of 11 drives be methodical. You're telling me Kennesaw State had 4 drives of at least 10 plays? Kennesaw State? Wake Forest is bad. Wake Forest is really bad.
Yeah, it's not great. By the way, follow our boy Duck. Step on a Duck. Just search Duck in the Action app. He's the FCS kingpin. When lines finally drop, you got to be quick. That's a perfect way to use your notifications. Follow him. It's all free in the award-winning Action Network app. And if you're new here and you don't have it, you're missing out on the full BBOC betting experience. We'll be adding plays, live plays, all throughout the week and weekend. By the way, you can use code BBOC20 to get $20 off if you want a year of Action Pro access. Never miss a bet from me, Colin, Duck, the whole squad. Get those immediate notifications, get projections, and all kinds of exciting features on the award-winning Action Network app. And take 1 second right now. If you're a fan of the show, leave a 5-star review. Borrow a phone if you've done it somewhere else. Really appreciate all of you guys tuning in. All right, right now it's time for some trash. Each week, we're probably going to have more trash. This week, got a couple. You tell me if you agree. San Jose State plus 36.5 against Texas. I'm waiting to see if this goes to plus 37 or more. Kind of, it's just static right now. But I already told you, teams off those losses, top 10 matchups, and Texas doesn't play anyone for a month. They might come out flatter than you think. 26% against the spread over the last 20 years, failing to cover by 7.5 points per game. And one of the reasons for that might come out flat. Lines are usually inflated. I think this should be under 35. San Jose State, they lost at home as 2 touchdown favorites, but they really got shocked by a Central Michigan offense that they did not know what to expect. That played into that. Give them a little bit of a break. I think you get the best. It's a veteran team still. I think you get their max effort here on the road. Extra day of prep, rest. Texas could come out flat. And Arch Manning just wasn't accurate. I don't know if they're going to fix all that in a week. So, I think this line's too high. San Jose State, agree or disagree?
Neutral. I'm going to go Texas team total over. How many field goals is Texas going to kick in this game? I would guess 0. If they don't get this red zone shit figured out, UTEP's easily going to cover a 44-point spread next week. So I would take a Texas team total over here.
Let's go. Let's get super ugly. We're going UAB, baby.
That's ugly.
UAB, it's still 21.5 out there. I made this 18.
Yep.
First of all, Service Academy over 2 touchdown favorites. I've talked about this, yelled about this for years. They are against FBS teams. Service Academy's is more than 14-point favorite, 27-41 against the spread since 2005. That's 39.7%. UAB looked awful last week. Their defense should be healthier. Their offense should be able to move the ball. I mean, last week when they played Navy, they lost 41-18. The spread was 5. This is a huge – and the Navy, we knew Navy was going to be pretty good. They were 4-0 at the time. The yardage was 450 to 400. Like, UAB just shot itself in its foot, penalties, they had a couple turnovers. They're going to be able to move the ball. They're going to be able to move the ball in this Navy team. The Navy secondary is not as good. They lost 3 key defensive backs, one of their best pass defenses ever. They lost their 2 key linebackers. You would be able to move the ball. The question is their defense. Are they going to be able to get any stops? I don't know. they're relying on a lot of lower level guys. I do like some of the guys they brought back in the secondary, but they didn't perform last week. The key here, obviously, it's a service guy laying over 21, so I'm going to take the dog in most spots. I hate Trent Dilfer, and this will probably end in an embarrassing fashion. But the key here is they hired Steve Russ as defensive coordinator, came in, spent years at Air Force. That is like a hidden edge here in preparing for an offense like Navy. I think over 3 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns plus, you got to take UAB. Give me the Blazers.
Yeah, I make this 18. I don't really want to admit it, but UAB is going to move the ball. My problem is they are still dead last in quality and finishing drives. That ain't going to get any better. But if there's a saving grace, Navy's offense is still running at 30.4 seconds per play. They're very slow. So that is a big spread, and I make it 18.
Agree. Put it on the gray or no?
Come on, man. Let's just put it on trash.
Okay.
Let's just put it on. I'll let you take it for the trash. All right.
Okay.
We can't put UAB in our pristine hollowed agree board.
Here's the ugliest one.
Yeah.
Uglier than that. Uglier than UAB somehow. Akron. I'm probably going to – I'm waiting to see if 35 pops. I mean, this Nebraska offense has no explosiveness. What are they going to show here? It's Rule. He'll shut it down once they go up big. Akron gets a touchdown here, they cover. I know they couldn't get one against Wyoming. But, yeah, I have this like 31. So you give me 35 against this like dink and dunk Nebraska offense. I'm going to take it.
Yeah. As my Vegas blackjack dealer says, good luck with your ace.
Last one. Maybe this is the. Let me put this. Yeah, I'll say if 35. So Akron with a star. Last one, which is going up on the board.
This is bad. You can't be doing this.
Charlotte.
Why are you? Why? What is this? This is like you missed the week of trash because it was Labor Day, and like you're picking it up on day 9, and it's just like piles.
Here's the thing. UNC looked awful. Charlotte looked awful. We don't know how their new coaches, new quarterbacks, new rosters. It's hard to peg just how bad they are. I downgraded North Carolina touchdown. Is that enough? Is it too little? Is I'm overreacting? I don't know. Did I downgrade Charlotte enough or not? I don't know. A lot of uncertainty. They both looked horrendous. Here's the thing. I got to play the spot. 2 touchdowns plus. I need to play the spot. I need to make North Carolina prove they can win a game against an FBS team by more than 2 touchdowns. What is the spot? Number 1, it's the Super Bowl for Charlotte in their home stadium against in-state older brother. Number 2, North Carolina played on Monday night.
Yeah.
They played on Monday night. Charlotte played on Friday.
Yeah.
They got a brand new team, brand new roster. Those extra days are important. And this 4-day turnout is an emotional game, a ton of hype, ESPN, all this. And who knows? Belichick might have built this roster completely wrong. He might be in over his head. What can he actually implement in 4 days? Prove to me you can win this game by more than 2 touchdowns. Give me Charlotte.
I can't go with, okay, I get it. The spot's big, but Gio Lopez minus 13.5 to Charlotte. Man, I can't join you.
No, I'm taking Charlotte.
No, I like North Carolina and Gio Lopez.
Oh God, Gio Lopez might not even start. It's probably going to be Max Johnson.
Oh, maybe TCU is better than people think.
It could be. That could be way off on here. But I'm playing the spot here. All right. That's it for trash. It is ugly. UAB, San Jose State at Texas, maybe Akron, and Charlotte. That's what we do around here. Hold your nose. All right, let's go. Quick quarterback news. Texas Tech, Baron Morton, might not go against Kent State. I would imagine under there. It's scary, but at Kent State, they're just going to run it a million times and not score.
Yeah.
Texas Tech probably scores 40-50 and stops, I think. I don't know, but under maybe. Wisconsin. Is Billy Edwards playing? Probably not.
I think next week.
Alabama on deck.
Yep.
I haven't got. Let me check my text. Did I get someone was supposed to. Is there an official word on that? Yeah, Danny O'Neill's starting. And then Hawaii. That line's come way down against Sam Houston because Alajado's out. Or I assume he's out. Was that announced yet?
I haven't seen that announced.
But I assume he's out. He was really banged up. The boot is off his foot, but he's still not practicing. So I assume he's out. Tough. I have Sam Houston State under. I would actually lean Hawaii under 7 if he's ruled out. All right, let's go nowhere fast. Collin on San Diego State They are at Washington State. I like them in this spot. Washington State's a disaster. They should have lost last week at home to Idaho, who, and by the way, Eckhouse didn't even start. What is going on at Washington State? They said that they liked, like, Idaho outgained them 221 to 211. Wood, the Fresno transfer, went 12 of 20 for 33 yards, and they should have won. They said Washington State's head coach said he liked the way that Potter saw the zone read. He didn't see any of it. What the hell are they doing there? I like San Diego State, but do you have anything on the total?
Yeah, I mean, I like that too, but we're going to go over on the total. San Diego State Aztec Fast was actually 27 seconds per play, but I think a lot of that came in the second half. They were up 45-0. They could not get any help from Stony Brook and getting points scored whatsoever. But this week, I think that'll be a little bit different. I think Washington State can contribute here. Both teams graded out, bottom 20 in tackling. San Diego State failed to produce any havoc whatsoever against Stony Brook. That's kind of strange. And Washington State failed to stuff Idaho on any rushing attempts. Like, what? All right, so I just don't see either defense putting any kind of resistance in. So let's go over.
Eckhouse is now listed as the third quarterback.
Zevi's third?
Yeah, QB3.
Thought he was good.
The bad things are going on in Pullman. Bad vibes. All right, let's talk Arkansas football. Arkansas State at Arkansas, or I should say in Little Rock. We going Arkansas State money line? Wolves?
Are you kidding? What are you talking about? Why would you even say, I'm trying to
We need it for the content. The A+ content.
Look, listen, first off, Pippin's already making excuses. He comes out and he starts bitching about how this game is in Little Rock. That means we have 30,000 less fans. It's a shorter drive from Jonesboro to Little Rock than it is from Fayetteville to Little Rock. And he was stressing that all the pressure's on Arkansas. And I'm just listening to him just bitching and bitching and bitching about, if we lose, well, it's really an Arkansas State home game because it's closer for them to make the drive for all their fans. And we lose 30,000 fans playing at War Memorial State. Quit making excuses. SEMO averaged 5.3 yards per play. They went over the national average in explosive methodicals against Arkansas State's defense. So I don't expect Taylon Green and our offense to have any issues whatsoever moving up and down the field. Arkansas State's defense forced 5 quarterback hurries, 3 sacks, and 6 TFLs. Here's what worries me about Arkansas. Alabama A&M had 5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and 3 quarterback hurries. Taylon Green was escaping the pocket for his life against Alabama A&M. Mike Washington Jr. is the real deal at running back. Omega Blake is I'm telling you, Stuck, if you have not laid eyes on Omega Blake, 5 yards per route run, 7 catches, 120 yards. He did that shit at Charlotte last year. Arkansas offense had no success rate, 14 third downs, average distance to go was 9.1 yards against Alabama A&M. The D allowed 6 explosive passes to Alabama A&M. Over.
Parlay over, Ark State money line. All right, before we get out of here, let's go 3 and out. All right, Friday Night Lights. I'm not going to spend much time on this. JMU at Louisville. My numbers say Louisville's the play at under 2 touchdowns. At 14, it's a pass. I wouldn't hate it if you took over the 2 touchdowns. This line has been going back and forth around the 14, which I think makes sense. I mean, I project this at Louisville minus 15. NIU at Maryland. This line been yo-yoing. I want no part of NIU. Maryland's true freshman quarterback looked impressive. NIU. Whew. You got anything on either one of these games?
NIU, no explosive drives below 4 yards per play with this new West Coast offense against Holy Cross. I mean, you just can't touch that at all. Maybe an NIU team total under. I don't know. And JMU Louisville, I think that's an over all the way. You know, what you see is 2 interceptions out of Miller Moss, but he had 0 turnover worthy plays. He actually had 3 big time throws, so it's kind of misleading because the interceptions weren't really on him. And JMU had 6.5 yards per play against Weber, which is typically a really good FCS defense. Both Barnett and Sluka are still competing big time. If JMU's down by 21 or 28, they're still chucking and trying to play with these quarterback battle that's going on. So
yeah, that's why the 14 is so big in this game.
Yeah, I like the over. I don't think they stop either of them.
All right, let's go second down. Favorite overdog. That's our favorite. I got 3. Rutgers. I know they burned us last week. Miami, Ohio's, and I know Rutgers defense is bad, but special teams can wash each other out here. That's usually a big Miami of Ohio advantage. The Miami of Ohio offense is lost. It's going to be lost early in the season. So I think the Rutgers D bounces back. Schiano probably going to make some key adjustments here, and they can score. Like Miami of Ohio's going to try to take away the explosive play, but that's not really the Rutgers offense. I like the way the Rutgers offense looks. They scored like 30 plus in 7 straight games. I also don't hate like a Miami of Ohio team total under, but I like Rutgers. Pitt, I think Pitt is going to just come out and destroy. And Cincy, saying two similar things. Central Michigan, we like them for the MAC, but that they're not built to beat Pitt. Like Pitt, number one, saw the offense. So there's no element of surprise here. The strength of the Pitt defense is up front, their linebackers specifically. So you're not gonna be able to run it. How do you beat the Pitt defense? You got to attack their outside to play quarters. Their corners are on the islands. That's not Central Michigan. I don't know how Central Michigan scores here or sustains drives. They do want to slow the game down, which makes it tricky to lay 21. They're kind of like Service Academy-esque, but Pitt goes fast. They're built to like kind of blow out these clearly inferior teams. And then Cincy, Satterfield's usually good as a double-digit favorite. You don't want them in close games. If this game is close, then blow it all up. Bowling Green last week was not impressive. It's gonna take time, but they lost a lot from their defense. Drew Pine was not good. He is not good. How are they going to score in this game? I don't know. I mean, this should be like the Houston game last year, like 34-0. So Pitt, Cincy, and Rutgers. How about you?
Yeah, I'm going to start off with Oregon. I think that number should be 34 against Oklahoma State. But furthermore, Dan Lanning is I've heard enough Dan Lanning speak in my life to know he's taking subtle shots about what it means to have a program that spends money and a program that doesn't spend money, and how college football is separating itself with the programs that spend money and the programs that don't. He was talking directly about Oklahoma State. And I've heard enough speak out of Dan Lanning to know when he's ready to put an ass whooping on somebody.
Michigan.
Yeah, so I'm saying Oregon minus. I got minus 27. I actually had to dip down to 27.5 at one book today, so just look for the best number there. And then Penn State. Look, if you just weren't a part of what happened last week, James Franklin has been covering openers for years, and he tries to cover every time he can, no matter if he's got to kick a field goal with 2 seconds left and he's up by 50, it doesn't matter. He's going to try to cover the number. Last week, the refs really kind of tinkered and screwed around and didn't let Franklin do what he wanted to do at the end of the game, and then Nevada went down and scored a touchdown, and Franklin didn't cover, and he bitched about it like post-game presser. I guarantee Penn State is going to do everything to cover that number this week. That's just who James. It's just completely a James Franklin play.
That is
100%.
All right, third down, underdog money line parlay. Favorite underdog money line. I'll go with Miss State. I already talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
And you?
Oh, I'm going Duke. I love Miss State too. I love this one for us this week.
All right, Miss State and Duke. By the way, live show will be back Saturday. Make sure you check out the Group of Five guys. They're on fire for their episode. But we'll be back 10:30 a.m. Eastern on Twitter. I'll tweet out the link. Give our updated favorite plays, talk about the slate. Make sure you download the award-winning Action Network app. Make sure you check out Playbook on Twitter. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Colin. Thanks to our producer, Matt Mitchell. Most importantly, thanks to all of you for always tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, tell a friend, tell an enemy. Leave a 5-star review. Really appreciate you guys. Let's keep it moving. Let's keep it rolling. We're back. It's good to be back. Catch y'all later. Cheers.
Peace out.